Hi, and welcome to Autistic Philosopher. That's what I am. So let's get into it. I selected today's topic as God. Why I did this is because it's core to philosophy and it's highly discussed, as philosophy tends to range from religions to social beliefs and past generations saying things and, making up stuff that sounds right, because that's ultimately all we can do as humans. However, that's not what we're here to talk about, is the history, because history is for those boring, annoying, those boring channels that describe the history of Plato. We're not here to do that. We're to discuss what God is and the capabilities of who is God, what does he do, and is it actually plausible that he exists? So let's get into it. So God's an individual or thing that is referenced throughout many religions, but every religion you've ever heard of has some sort of God or omnipotent being that tells you what to do. Now to follow these laws. Now, we don't need religion nowadays as much. We tend to just have morals that are aligned correctly, but relate to religions in some way. So, religions like Christianity, for example. You ever do the Pledge of Allegiance in school? It's related to that. So, it's fundamental to our society, but also relevant to what we're discussing today. So, let's get into it. I think the core thing that I think is most plausible with God is not one-to-one control. Now, yes, I'm not a god, so I wouldn't know. Maybe they're like a singularity, and God just is a singularity created by the space aliens, a Garthan theory, that kind of thing. But the most plausible thing in terms of God actually existing is he is not what everyone thinks he is. I think it's unlikely. I don't think God can control every day of your life and monitor every little thing you're doing. I mean, yes, he could do that, but why would he? And, strict codes or strict rules are unlikely too. So, like Judaism or Islam, obviously that's out of the factor, because they have strict codes that you need to follow. Dogs, I know. So as for other religions that have plausibility, I think Christianity is kind of pushing it, but most people don't highly follow that. So I'm willing to kind of give it some leniency. I don't personally follow any religion. It's kind of just a yap session anyway. So one of the most prominent things about God is I view him more as a manager. Like, he's managing a world and these people. Is he going to manage them all one after another? No. He's going to have his... Like the angels, I kind of could see that, because angels, they directly guide people to how they need to live their afterlife or where to go in their afterlife. Or demons who do basically the same thing. And I think if in Christianity, most likely God is Satan and Satan is God, because he controls everything in that religion. I'm discussing it because a lot of people know it, and I don't really know much about other religions. I guess my whole thought towards it, in terms of if he did exist, it would be kind of like Buddhism or Confucianism, in that, there's no nirvana and karma. Karma will be part of a video that I will make on this philosophy channel sometime. I don't know when, but I will make one. It's in the I plan on making one about karma, because I think it's a thing that could exist and does exist, in a sense that your actions have consequences, and your consequences have actions that exist within. So one of the most possible solutions is that he's a manager. He manages systems like karma, nirvana, and other things, instead of directly managing person by person, action by action, because realistically that's not a thing I would do as a god. That seems crazy. Again, this is all speculation. God and religion is all like a hoobah. I think there's nothing to really know here, aside from guessing and speculating about what could be plausible and not. But if you think of it from a business perspective, if you are managing a business and you're the CEO, you hire people to manage those people that you need to guide, or customers you're willing to sell to. So you can kind of view God as a businessman, and that he's like the CEO of the world, if that makes any sense, if that helps. Now, the other plausibility, if he doesn't exist, is that everything was created naturally, and just over evolution and natural recreation and stuff, that we came to be, and that is plausible as well. So if God doesn't exist, that's he just doesn't exist. We're living beings on this planet that happen to be formed. And if God does exist, he exists in the sense that he is a glorified CEO, and he manages the company called Earth and us, in a way. That covers mostly what I want to go over. However, I want to go and kind of, hit towards the future videos and how God ties into everything else. Because God tends to, and religion tends to tie into the rest of society. Whether people believe it or not, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, they all kind of, get people into a perspective and a culture that fundamentally identifies how these people are. So that's kind of what I wanted to go over there, and it relates to culture, religion, all of it relates back to God and whether he exists or not, because it's part of our culture, part of our being, and I think if he does exist, he controls systems, not each action and each angel. And if he doesn't, he just doesn't exist, and we just die, and there's nothing. But there's no way to know that for sure. That's my best guess, and what I would think is the most possible solution. Feel free to comment and say what you think about this. I'm gonna make future videos on this channel for a while here. I don't know how much I'm gonna upload on it. Mostly just a side tangent, kind of ranting, yapping channel. Might become a commentary channel if successful. I don't know. Mostly just for love of the game. So, if you enjoy, I guess subscribe. I don't know, leave a comment or something. Do what you want. Peace.